live. You are live. But how doth it sound is the real question. All right, sounds good. There we go. Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, good evening, good day, good morning, everyone, wherever you are at. I hope that you are doing well. So welcome to this week's live stream, and I am not alone. We've got Nathan here. Say hello, everyone. Say we've got Incineroar is here. We also have I'm Omega and TV account. Good to have you guys here. Ooh, and we also have Fabio. Fantastic.
It might just be on my end, but you were a little bit crunchy.
A little bit crunchy. Let me hear.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Talking
Why
crunchy.
Edge trying to open. Why did you do that?
I'm not hearing the crunchiness on my end. It might pop in. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep an ear to that and see if that becomes.
It might be mine because I'm trying to.
We got Shade here, gaming while listening.
Trying to get this set up.
Fabio says so far no crunch. Fantastic. Yeah, because the crunchiness can get a little bit annoying. I understand that, so we want to avoid that if at all possible. All right. We also got ISO here. ISO, I'm here this time. Yay! It's great to have you here. Okay. Well, everyone, before we get into tonight's main topic, which is going to be character creation, let's just quickly do a little rundown of some things we've got planned for talking about tonight. So first off, we're going to just chat a little bit about upcoming Glitch X and maybe have a little talk about the character that was introduced, and that'll be kind of a nice segue into talking about character design. We'll then dive into the main lesson, which is main lesson of the night, which is going to be thinking about how can you start taking a character you only have vague ideas about, or maybe you can picture this character really well. How do you start taking those ideas and giving them life, both in terms of prose and also for drawing? Now, this will not be a drawing lesson. I'm going to be reiterating that again. This is not so much a drawing lesson, although Nathan has volunteered to try to do a little bit of drawing tonight when and where possible. Zazo unfortunately couldn't make it for tonight because they're recovering from a really bad cold. So we're giving them a chance to get over that, get over Halloween, which is next week. And so we are aiming for hopefully the 8th to do full on drawings, having some real fun with that. And so kind of consider tonight a little bit of a precursor to really build us up to that live stream where we're going to have a whole lot more fun with actual drawing. So this is going to kind of be like the build up to that, the preparation for that, and really getting your characters, your thoughts out there into words, and then talking about how those words can translate on over to pictures. And then we will pick up again with that in about 2 weeks. So that is kind of the main plan, the main goal right there. And then if you guys haven't seen Dandadan yet, we're going to talk a little bit about Dandadan, probably at the very end, because the main topic of the evening will be character creation. Yay, Darkest Daydreams is here. Fantastic. Great to have you here. All right. So let us have a wee bit of fun talking about Glitch X. Let me share my screen right here. Sharing the screens. Yes, I get the warning about sharing screens. And then infinite loop. You guys should now also be seeing the infinite loop right there. And popping on over to GlitchX. So Glitch dropped their announcement for GlitchX coming up this year. It'll be November 1st. And hope that you guys will have the chance to get to see that live. It's going to be good fun. Now then, that would normally clash with when we do live streams. However, next week is going to be a little bit wonky in terms of live streams. So we'll have an announcement for that once we have details on our own end. But you guys should be free Friday evening to go and enjoy this. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. And one of the reasons why it's going to be fun is because we're going to finally learn a little bit about this character right here. It almost looked like she's got cat ears. No, it's just little antennae. And I think this is my guess that this is actually a soft announcement for a third show that Glitch is going to try to work on alongside the Amazing Digital Circus and the Gaslight District, especially because they have almost doubled the size of their staff recently. So I think that that's mostly in preparation for them to do some big things. So I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are about that. Whoop. I'll pop back on over here to Elden Ring footage. TV account, the mascot for the event is named Bug. Well, what a cute little bug she is. Why does this feel like a teacher using a student for education? Well, that's because that's what teachers do all the time. We use our teacher. We teachers use our students in the process of education. It is one of the best ways to learn, by being the guinea pig. I'm Omega. Looks like someone from Sunlight Overdrive. Yeah, that vibe is definitely coming through. Oh, Glitch getting big. I hope that ends up its most positive. So Nathan's your student. Yes, Nathan is. Well, Nathan might just be my student for tonight. He's taking care of things over on his end. So we'll see how that all works out. Rubens, character creation? You mean character self-destruction? Sometimes. It depends on the character. And Roblox didn't forget the stream. Yes. So TV Count says that she's just the mascot. I say, TV Count, I will say this. It could still be that Bug is part of an upcoming show. Yeah, most likely just a mascot but for this, maybe even the MC, the Master of Ceremonies, which I think would be really cool to have a cartoon character as the MC rather than just Luke and Kevin popping on to do the introductions. I went back and watched a little bit of last year's Glitch X, which was fun, but that you could definitely tell that there was a little bit of awkwardness jumping back and forth. So they might be trying to see what happens if this year they do a cartoon character doing all of the introductions. Nathan, sorry, having problems with my computer. Ah, crud. Well, Nathan, hopefully you are able to make it on back. And even if we can't do any drawings tonight, then again, remember, tonight is all about preparing ourselves for when we have Zaza on hand to do drawings in 2 weeks. That's going to be our big main event. So don't worry about it too much. I think she looks freaking cool. A very meat runner or meta runner reminiscent character, and I am hyped to see more about her. Oh, me as well. And she just looks darn cute. And I actually shared this on our Discord earlier when ISO posted a screenshot of Bug. That was like, I'm getting super Tumble Teller vibes. A character who's there to represent other creators, just like Mukulirian is in the book Tumble Teller. The main character is there to act as a window to all the readers about what it's like to be a young creator, a young storyteller, ready to go and tell your stories and all of the difficulties that come with that. Roblox, it's Glitch's Mickey Mouse. Hey, you know what? Given the state of Mickey these days, she is looking a whole lot better than Mickey Mouse. I'll tell you that. Rubens, who entered Lars's call out of nowhere and just left? Well, Runes, that was Nathan. Unfortunately, Nate's having some computer problems, and hopefully he's able to make it back. Because if he is able to, then hey, that means I get a little co-host for tonight, and we might get some drawings, which would be awesome. Let's see here, Fabio. Nathan right here, the one who will be here for a character design talk. Yeah, hopefully. It all depends on him sorting out his computer problems. Hopefully he makes it. Personal take. It's so fun going back home 4 months. Totally optional service. And the moment you get home, a heat wave hits Rio and temperatures hit 40 degrees. Freaking desert. But it's just a theory, a book theory. I don't know. That temperature sounds really real right there, Rubens. Wow. Let me slow down as I'm talking so I don't get so tongue twisted. And take a drink. Nathan's restarting his laptop. All right. Okay, so TV count. I have my sketchbook out, and also here's the artist who brought her to life. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Imagine Nathan got abducted by UFOs and the computer is the start issue. Hey, after just reading a little bit more of Dandadan, I can absolutely get into that. 2 Brazilians are in the chat. Lars is tongue and lungs right now. Just you guys wait. I can just keep going. I'm Omega. Who are we planning on drawing? So you can work tonight on drawing any character of your own that you wish. When we've got Zaza here in 2 weeks, the hope is to take some of the characters that you guys give to us in the chat, and we try to bring them to life. And tonight is kind of the build up to that as we go over how to take the ideas in your head and start making them far more concrete in words, and how you can communicate that information to other artists. Now then, if you yourself are already an artist, then this might not seem like that big of an issue, but I feel like this is still a really good thing to go over. How to take your characters as they are in your head and start describing them in ways that will really resonate with other people, especially to communicate to other people, hey, this is what they should look like, whether you're writing or whether you're telling an artist what you want to have drawn. And if you yourself are the artist, you might think, well, duh, I just tell myself how to draw it. But, I mean, we get writer's block as well for when we're trying to be creative and draw stuff. And this might be a way to help you kind of get over that. So I'm hoping that tonight's lesson is applicable to you wherever you are at in your own creative process. Ruben's best character design, V, whoever disagrees is wrong. Well, V would definitely agree with that, Rubens. Uzi would say, bite me. So, let's see here. He wears no clothes. He's strong. He fast. He's smart. Perfect description. Give me the book awards. Yes. Actually, you know what, Rubens? Let me take an opportunity to have a little rant right here. And I'm actually planning on making this into a larger video sometime in the future. But you're like, hey, look, he's strong, he's fast, he's smart. Good. There's the story. I just listened yesterday to a video that was giving some good critique on storytelling, looking at the most recent debacles with the potential Blade movie, which seems to have now been relegated permanently to production hell. And in about 5 years, they'll finally admit that they're not going to make it, and then they'll finally close it for good. Well, as I was listening to that, this guy who was giving the critique and insight was like, it's so easy to write action. You just have Blade go on in and kill like 100 vampires with his guns and stakes and swords. And I'm like, yes and no. It sounds really cool to have Blade go and kill 100 vampires. I want to see that. But you can't just simply say, and now Blade will go fight a bunch of people, and look, the movie writes itself. No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. If you want to write a good action story, more goes into it than character kills 100 people. And a good example of that would be Cyrano de Bergerac, where Cyrano actually fights 100 guys. and you get some really interesting context, the build up, the action, the consequences, and that's how the play opens. And it's fantastic, but it has a long ways to go yet. A story doesn't just write itself because you're like, cool character, kills people. Yeah, story's written itself. So when I heard that take from a movie critic, I was like, dude, I think you need to watch Ratatouille and really listen to what the one critic character has to say. The grim eater, when he's writing his review later on, he says critics have it easy where they can just say what they like and don't like, but the creator or the chef is the person who's really going out there and is risking themselves to do something unique and interesting. And we as the critics don't fully understand that. I'm like, yes, that's it's so true.
Can you hear me? Am I working now finally?
Oh, I can hear you perfectly. Loud and clear.
Jeez. So I figured out the issue, but we don't have to go into it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, well, and it's interesting kind of going off of the whole criticism or the critics side of things. I often find that, and I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but I have a difficult time when I come across a book that's been written by a book critic. And oftentimes the book falls a little bit flat. Like they go against their very own criticisms a lot of the time. And so it's like, I feel like being a critic and understanding the actual like formatting and creation process are two completely different things, right? And it's like, sure, you can sit here and say like, oh, this was good, this wasn't good, I didn't like this, I did like this, but at the end of the day, if you're writing a story, your story is going to have faults and issues too. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to catch them all either, but and it's like, I've had this idea for a video kind of brewing for a very, very long time, where basically it's like every story is going to have issues. It's going to have downfalls. It's going to have faults. It's going to have red flags. It's going to have all of these things that people are going to hate. And at the end of the day, it just matters which of those issues bothers you the least. You know, it's like, I might have a lot of issues with the Twilight show or like the Twilight books and the movies. But there's nothing wrong with people who do enjoy those books. You know, it just because the things that bother me don't bother other people doesn't mean that those issues aren't in the books, nor does it mean that those people's enjoyment of the books isn't valid.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I've been thinking about that as I've been working on the retrospective for Murder Drones. I just introduced the show to a couple of people, and one of them, like, she just binged through the entire thing within 24 hours, was loving it, and at the end she's like, well, wait a second, what about this, and this? I'm like, yeah, those are basically plot holes. Those are definitely things that the creators did not deliver on like they should have. But like that doesn't take away from the fact that she and I both enjoyed the show. It's more like, okay, then the show's enjoyable. Here are some issues, and we as creators, we can learn from that. So hopefully we don't do the same in our own stories.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to be able to dissect a story and find critiques and stuff like that. But to be an actual critic, oftentimes kind of like it sucks out the joy of just experiencing the media a lot of the times. And I have a hard time. What I was getting back to is that there are a few books that I have read from critic book tubers, and they just fell flat for me. Like they felt like they were trying too hard not to have all of these issues that they say avoid and stuff, and oftentimes like they're trying so hard to avoid all these things that they actually either A, create whole new problems, or B, um they kind of end up missing the fun of the story. And so it's like, yes, it's very important to understand critically, you know, as in like in the technical term critically, right? To critically understand these things without letting yourself be so critical to the point where you're no longer enjoying what you're doing, or enjoying like you're missing the enjoyment of what you're experiencing.
Yeah. Don't get so hung up on I have to avoid this, or I have to make this better. It's like from last week's conversation, tropes. There's some people who just get so bent out about I have to avoid this trope, or I must subvert this trope. And it's like, just write your story. Have fun.
Yeah. Don't think so hard about it. Think hard about your characters and their motivations, but don't think so hard about, all the issues and the critics. If you try to write a book that's going to satisfy everybody, you're going to write a book that satisfies no one.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so at the end of the day, write the kind of book you want to write, and just think about how to make your characters the best characters they can be. And that is all you need to do.
Amen. It takes you far. All right. So I'm going to quickly catch up with some stuff people have been saying here in the chat, and then we will dive into the lesson. Ruben says, I learned English by playing video games and talking to myself so clearly. I can learn how to write by not reading and talking to myself. Ironically works somewhat. Dilemma. What if somehow this best story ever actually gets to exist, but it's also where the most egregious spelling mistakes ever lie? That is what we call My Immortal.
I think you mean the fifth Champion.
Oh my gosh, the fifth Champion. Yeah, the fifth Champion took My Immortal out back behind the woodshed and beat it up.
That is the perfect story.
Yes. Let's see here. TV Ken says is actually a good way to describe it, especially with some stories and what people really get out of it. So that's why I decided to be a critic, because I'm a writer. Because I can understand. I like when people understand me, so I try to understand others with the best of my abilities, and that is excellent right there. I really like that. Fabio, can we at least have a romanticization of these Japanese characters? Possibly. Roblox earlier cough Deadpool cough. Oh, Deadpool. Deadpool is unique in so many ways. One of these days we might have a discussion on Deadpool. But with all of that being said, let's actually finally dive into the meat of what you guys all came here for this evening, which is character design. Woohoo! And
I love that. Yeah, I love that artwork.
I love this as well. This is the artwork for my book, Monarch Mercenaries. This is the cover art.
Was this Kevin who did this, or was this somebody else?
This was Kevin who did this.
Good old Kevin.
I've actually got some more. I have some more of Kevin's work in this slideshow.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm also for those who also know about Komu, from one of the artists for one of the big fan artists for Deltarune. I actually have a commission from her here in this slideshow as well, and some really early art from another artist that I've enjoyed working with, who did the artwork for Notice Me Send Pie.
That's a good one.
From Nekaru. And actually, oh my gosh, I oh my gosh, I should have added into this the artwork from Notice Me Senpai. I do, again, I have Nekaru's artwork in here, but for something else.
Hey, I'm gonna step away for a second. I gotta find my water. I still have my headphones on, so you can keep talking, but I'll be away from the mic for a minute.
Okay, no worries. Darkest Daydreams. Is it Komu? This artwork isn't Komu's. However, I will quickly blaze through. Wait, there we are. Right here on this slide, that is some of Komu's artwork right there for my upcoming book, and we will talk more about that in a moment. All right, so our goal for tonight is this: learn ways to visualize and communicate how your characters look. So this lesson, again, is not about how to draw your characters. I am not an artist. I am not a good artist. Nathan knows how to draw, but again, we are going to wait until we have Zaza here to really do art together as a group. So this is not a lesson about drawing. Instead, this is a lesson about finding those characters you have in your head, pulling them out, and finding ways to articulate the details that either you need to communicate in your stories, how they look, or how to draw them yourselves, or if you're like me and you have to work with artists to create the artwork for your books, how you can then communicate with artists to try to bring your characters to life. That is what this is about. And so, again, this is kind of the beginning for something much bigger down the road. So we'll work on finding those details that your characters should have, and then finding the words to describe them. That is our goal for tonight. Oh, yeah, echoed out Tess Deltarune. It gets automatically triggered in my brain sometimes. All right. Man, I do not... How did this happen? It does not look this way for me. I like seeing how the slide ended up for you guys right here. This is not how it originally looked. I need to find out why it looks this way, because this is bugging me. In any case, weird. Yeah, this frustrates me, especially because I knew I'd moved, for instance, the title, so that way it didn't go into the girl's hair. But oh well. The important stuff is still here on the screen. So very first, we are going to have a look at the we're going to talk about describing the physical attributes of your character, and then the personal attributes of your character. The things that aren't immediately seen when you look at someone. And the reason for this is because when you describe your characters, they're not just physical. There's also an emotional aspect to them. So if we, for instance, pop back on over here, this girl in this image is largely emotionless. It's a nice face. We get the hair and everything, but there's not a whole lot to her. If you were to ask me to describe her personality, I would say that she's either bored or has the 1,000-yard stare.
Well, and to me, this artwork here really looks like reference artwork for so it's meant to be more of a blank slate so that the artist who is drawing it would know, like the general facial structure.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could build the personality of the scene on top of that. That's what this looks like to me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I guess I haven't said this yet. I know I'm going to attempt to give some drawing into this. I am not Zaza, so I'll do my best, but I'm not traditionally trained in character drawing. I do have a few years of art school behind my belt, but I am not an artist. I have some graphic design experience, and that's where most of my art abilities come from. But I'll do my best. We'll see what happens.
He says he's not an artist, but he's actually got some really great art that he used to hang up around his room, which was really cool. But
that was years and years ago. But thank you.
yeah. Roblox, the Google slideshow compression is real. Yes, it is. It's yeah. But we shall move on. And that's actually one of the reasons why I chose some of the sketches that I did, was because I wanted to like show like, okay, here we have just the reference art, which is correct what Nate said. And then here with this artwork with this woman, you get to see a little bit more to her. And we're going to get into talking about like expressions and whatnot, personality, and how that combines with looks. But for talking about the physical attributes of your character, this is to create like the vessel. So for anyone who's played Deltarune, at the beginning, you get to create the vessel of your character, which then, of course, gets tossed out. But hey, you get to try to create your own character. And of course, you can do that for games like Elden Ring and for Baldur's Gate and so forth. And so that's kind of what this is here. The physical attributes of your character that you want to think about in order to create the vessel is like their height, their body type, meaning are they skinny, are they fat, are they muscular, barrel-chested, short, tall, weirdly proportioned, are their arms slightly too long, all kinds of things that you would see when you first look at a person, their general shape. You've got hair color, you've got eye color, and I include right here usual and favorite fashion. So how does someone usually dress as opposed to like how they would really want to dress? Because people normally have to dress a certain way for work or for school, but then when they actually get to like be home or do the things that they really like to do, then maybe like maybe they become more goth, maybe they become more jock, maybe they don't wear anything. So
that. Well, and I feel like
usual versus
fashion. Yeah, fashion is usually things that are usually overlooked, especially in books. I mean, obviously, you know, in cartoons, it's hard to overlook fashion because there's a much more visual presence to it. But I find in books, it's, you know, fashion is usually something that is not often addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like, oh, this is a very special moment. We got to talk about her prom dress or whatever. But like in general, people don't usually talk about fashion, but fashion can tell a lot about your character personality and about like their backstory and who they are and where they came from and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, just like even, you know, I'm just thinking about, you know, today's modern day, you know, you see somebody walking down the street in a freshly pressed suit and you think automatically, whether or not it's true, you think, oh, big money, you know, they probably are pretty well off if they are just walking down the street, or they probably wouldn't be walking down the street. But if you saw somebody out there in the wild and saw a very nicely pressed suit, or you saw somebody with, you know, baggy clothes, then you might think either A, they're, you know, trendy because the baggy clothes is kind of trending right now, or B, they don't have enough money to buy well-fitting suits, you know. And so it's like, depending, and once again, the environment in which you're seeing this faction could also mean a lot towards the characters too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Fashion does tell us a lot about characters. One of my favorite examples for this is from the Stormlight Archive with one of the characters, Adolin. And what's neat is that he is actually more fashion oriented than any of the other characters, including the women in the books, because he's all about that high society. He likes getting new suits. And so he's always looking at like, ooh, what's the newest fashion? What's the newest fashion? He tries to find ways to mimic it as best he can because his dad says, no, you're going to be in a military uniform all the time. So he's always looking for ways to try to alter the uniform a little bit so that way he can be trendy. And so that says a lot about who he is as a character. And so, yeah, fashion Like, think about that as you think about how I want to describe my characters. What are they wearing? Because that does tell us quite a bit.
Yeah.
Also, you have posture. Posture is something that I think that we overlook too often, sometimes in our character description. Like, I like being able to say how a character either stands or sits erect, like with their back straight, because it's like, oh, like, I'm confident, I'm feeling good, or peppy. Or do they have a slouch?
Or proper.
Yeah, or proper. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what might a slouch, for instance, communicate? Like, I've got a character whose slouch. Like, I wrote the slouch in to help emphasize the fact that he's a loner and a creep. But sometimes the slouch can just mean like, I'm just exhausted right now, and if that's how you want to describe your character. Posture is important, or if their eyes are just looking into the distance, their head's in the clouds. You get that expression. Skin tone, the face, hygiene. It's important, I think, to sometimes at least put a little bit out there. Like, yeah, my character is either like in a scene looking pretty dirty, or they're looking exceptionally clean. I like to sometimes put in there when a character smells real bad, because that's something that other people are going to notice. And physical quirks. Like, does someone have a twitchy eye? Are they constantly like having to move their hands while they speak? Do you get a lot of shoulder movement, a lot of head bobbing? Because those are all things that actually help us in the real world to understand people a little bit better, get that body language. Or, for instance, if you meet an Italian, you know to give them some distance because their hands are going to be flying as they speak. Let's see here. Roblox, don't you just hate that extreme common problem of not having enough money to wear all well-tailored suits? Yeah, I know. Fabio, they lean back, all overconfident and or smug. That's a good example. TV Can says, oh, I like how Liam describes how Callie stands in design. Posture is pretty important for how you want to present your character. If I says to Roblox, I'm sorry, was your sentence meant to be true? Yes, it is. No,
I wish I could have the money to buy a well-tailored suit. I probably wouldn't use it on a well-tailored suit, but I'd love to have that kind of money.
Yep. I hate wearing suits. I only wear suits if I have to. I'm not a fan of wearing suits. It's also one of the reasons why I hate wearing polo shirts and the likes, is because I don't like having cloth up against my neck. I'm just weird that way. And so, hey, you already now know something a little bit about Lars. He does not like cloth around his neck, which is bad in really cold places because you got to then wear a scarf.
So you're saying don't choke you and you'll be okay.
Yeah, don't choke me. I'll be absolutely fine. And of course, accessories. Is a character wearing bling? Do they have rings? Is a girl wearing like gaudy earrings, little studs, glasses, stuff like that? All accessories help to give just more depth and description to your characters. Now then, I will say this already. If you're looking at this list of stuff and you're thinking to yourself, that's so much to describe, it is a lot.
You're not even close.
It is a lot, but we are going to work on helping you find, again, those words. Because all of this is good to have. And it's also easy to communicate this information really rapidly, really quick in your stories. And there's also a way of communicating it to an artist so that way it's not super overbearing to the artist about, hey, I need this. Because most artists hate being given a massive checklist. They have to do that, and that in order to make the picture look good.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like and maybe you're gonna go into this, but I feel like the artist typically understands like visual design, because there's a huge part of the personality of a character that has to do with visual design, not just physical attributes, right? So like and we can talk about this later, but like how round shapes tend to be more friendly, square shapes tends to be more like sturdy. And so it's like, if you say, oh, this character wears glasses, it's more important to distinguish, or at least for the artist to be like, okay, they wear glasses, but do they wear glasses, like, is this character more of a friendly, approachable type of character, or is it a stoic, sturdy type of character? Because
Mm-hmm.
the kind of glasses the artist will design for that character are going to differ wildly depending the on the personality of the character that they're trying to portray with these different shapes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like for instance, Harry Potter's got round glasses, and it makes him look like a kind kid, approachable, easygoing, and then for anyone
Innocent
who's
and not very bright. What? Who said that?
yeah, yes, yes, and then like in anime, always you have like the whenever you have the stoic guy wearing glasses, they're always ridged rectangles
Yeah.
with like a thick rim to it. Uh, probably because they've been
Mhm.
punched in the face in the past, so they need to have now sturdy glasses just in case.
Yeah. And that goes for literally every other aspect of on this here. Like, straight hair is gonna be um more traditional, but curly hair might make the character more approachable, more uh friendly, bubbly, right?
Hmm.
Eye shape, an almond eye might be a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more mischievous, but a big round doe eye would be the opposite of that, and so it's like you can go through each of these and kind of like visually, yes, you can say blue eyes, but the artist is gonna be able to understand, okay, but what shape is the eye need to be to convey the personality.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. And then you also get wide set eyes, close set, small, big.
Yeah.
Do they wear eyeliner? Yeah. Oh, you can get so hyper focused into this, but these are things to think about for your character. Now then, we've got the personal attributes for your characters as well. Wow, how on earth did that get over the S? What on earth? What in the name of unholy compression is going on here? In any case, personal attributes for your characters. These are things that will actually become physical once you start describing them, and especially once they start getting drawn, but they're not necessarily something that you would consider as a physical attribute. So, for instance, attitude: happy, sad, angry, uh that like those are things that, yeah, we can see them, but it's a personal inner thing that eventually becomes expressed on the face and in the posture and in the actions. Another personal attribute that's important to understand are the relationships, because for instance, a person who actually has multiple relationships is someone who is going to appear usually way more open. Like, and you can think about that person, think about the people in your lives who have lots of friends. How do they carry themselves? How do they act around other people? What kinds of facial expressions do they wear? Someone who has a lot of relationships, and I'm not just talking romantic, but I'm talking like lots of friendships or lots of family, are going to act a certain way. Their likes, their dislikes will determine how they react, which will also again affect how their expressions look, their posture, how they present themselves. Hobbies have a way of presenting themselves in the way that a person looks. For instance, Might someone have dyed their hair to look like one of their favorite characters, or to fit in with the people who like their favorite band? That's something to consider right there. Or are they wearing like a ring or earrings? Do they have a tattoo that shows something that they really like? Hobbies present themselves in various ways on how a person looks. Hopes and fears. You can think about how hopeful a person might look or how fearful someone might look. Those will determine how someone acts and looks over time. Disposition. Disposition has a lot to do with attitude. Are you more predisposed to being happy or sad or contemplative, angry, aggressive, friendly? Those will determine how you look. Your other quirks. Are you someone who has to constantly repeat themselves because you feel like you're not getting the point across? Or do you have a stutter? Are you, again, another quirk? Another quirk might be like you just have like that little OCD compulsion. I've got to make sure everything is in a nice order, which then might present itself in how they dress. Mental health also determines how a character might look. Their speech patterns. What words do they use? Are they articulate? Are they soft-spoken? Do they ramble on and say very little? Those also might determine how a person looks. Are they shy? Are they open? Their strengths, their weaknesses. What do they really like? Like, what are their favorite things? Their backstory, their goals. All of these things will in time determine how a character looks. And I hope to show that in some of the images that I will share with you guys later on of characters from my own books. So again, these qualities define how a character acts, which in turn will have an effect on how a character looks. So the more that you're able to understand your character, the better you'll understand how your character must look. That's what I'm hoping to convey with this here.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, looking through some of these, they might be more specific to specific scenes, which if you are working with an author or with an artist, oftentimes you're not going to be, giving them, just a blank slate to draw a character. You're going to be giving them some sort of scene or some sort of like action that you're trying to portray in art to use either as, what's the word? Like a picture in the middle, or cover, right? And so it's like stuff like attitude, relationships. It could be very important to show like, hey, these two characters are in love with each other, even though like that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the scene. It will help the artist understand like, okay, so it's not like these two characters are rivals. It's not like they're sneering at each other from across the way. They are, they're in love. They're worried about each other. Maybe if there's explosions going off and, and so it's like, that's something too, that the artist needs to know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I hope to show that with some of the images that other artists have worked on for me. Was Lars attacked? Nope, we just got sound going on. Don't worry. Actually, just right now, glancing out my office window, everything is A-okay. I'm guessing you don't... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I do know my wife is doing dishes downstairs, so you might hear the occasional crinkle of a dish or something, but I don't, yeah, hopefully you guys aren't hearing a whole lot of background noise.
That is some fantastic microphone to pick up what's happening downstairs.
Yeah, well, it's like in a loft right above the kitchen.
Okay.
So sound travels a bit, but it's not usually too bad. And my microphone shouldn't pick up most of it.
Okay. Let's see here. Real quick again, just catch up with some things you guys have said right here. I'm Omega. I'm guessing you don't have any experience in mechanical design then. Me, most definitely not. Nope. Let's see here. Fabio, speech patterns can go from however unsure or confronted they feel to maybe a taste of state of arts museum, among whatever simple and not in betweens to come and color it all in. The British color. Fabio as well, big puffy hair above the character's head that could even be made use as a pillow. Well, that would depend on how curly her hair is. How much hairspray did she use in the morning? TV account, and that's why Murder Drone's design features a combo of circles and triangles. LOL, Liam, even his waifus with slightly rounded triangles. Yes, for rounding them out, make them feel much more attractive and not quite as harsh. Even a character like V. Roblox, the compression is even worse when you're in a class of 30 and seeing it for the first time like that. Yes, that has happened to me before, and that's embarrassing, but hey, we move on. Roblox is down. Round equals soft. Yes, to the eyes. Which fun fact of drawing for the movie Lilo and Stitch, there is not a single harsh edge anywhere in that movie. All of the characters, all of the background designs were made to be somewhat rounder. Even Stitch's claws, if you really look close, are actually rounded off. They're not sharp. And that's because the artists wanted the entire movie to feel as welcoming and as kind as possible. And in part, they did that because Stitch is a murderer. In the original cut for the movie, they were planning on having Stitch outright murder Pudge in front of the audience, and they were also going to show how Stitch murdered thousands of people on screen when he topples entire buildings and when he causes a massive explosion through a traffic accident. They wanted people to understand that Stitch was a murderer, and that then through having everything be very soft, that you would subconsciously be drawn to wanting Stitch to be redeemed. Though Disney demanded that they edit out a lot of the darker moments that really paint Stitch as a villain. So the movie becomes super sweet and cuddly because all of the dark scenes were removed, and they wanted those dark scenes in there to balance out with the softness of the animation. So fun little design trivia about the movie Lilo and Stitch. ISO, this stream is already much more useful than I expected. I'm thinking about far more than just my pre-planned character. Excellent. That's what we like to hear. Fabio, to the touch, maybe it could be a heavy metal ball. I'm not sure. Oh, I see right there. Yes, soft. This heavy metal ball. Good luck. Wrecking ball ensues. Roblox is down. I want to see that movie. You can, if you get the DVD of Lilo and Stitch, you can see a lot of the removed scenes because they did animate it. They animated Stitch's murders. They just weren't allowed to put it into the final cut. I'm Omega. I should have seen the artist design for the Beast from Beauty. Oh, you should have seen the artist design for the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. There is an old trailer for Beauty and the Beast from the early 90s where they show for the production of the movie all of the different iterations of the Beast, and it was incredible. It was really interesting seeing the different design ideas that they had for Beast before they finally settled on the design that they had for him, because they actually went with a more humanistic approach to his design, because some of the early ones, he is just full on monstrous. There is nothing human about him anymore. And I personally really like that design, but they needed to go with a design that would make the audience sympathize with Beast a whole lot more. Fabio, still, what Stitch does imply a good bit of the dangers he could pose. Yes, they did a good job with how they edited the movie in such a way that you still understand that Stitch is a villain, and that comes across without him coming across as the murderer that they had originally intended for the movie. So, with that being said, here we have a writing challenge for you guys. And here's the thing. I'm going to give you guys this challenge right now, and then I'm actually going to give you a little bit of advice, and then we're going to come back to this. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I want to see what you guys are able to pull out of the ether of your own imagination. And then I'll give you guys the next bit of advice, and then we're going to come back to this and see what you can do. So I'm hoping that we make this good and hands-on. Fabio asked, do we type in chat? Yes, if you want to. I would really like to see some of you guys put this stuff into the chat. If you don't feel like sharing, then please at least write it like in a notebook or on a separate doc, on a sheet of paper. I do want you to be engaged for this particular part of the lesson. And I myself am going to type into the chat what I have in mind for the character right here on your screen. Wafi is here. Hi, I'm back to these streams. Great to have you back, Wafi. Hope you're doing well. And you're just in time for a practical writing assignment. Woohoo! So again, I want you to take one of your characters from one of your own stories, and I want you to describe them here according to this layout of personality, body type, relationships, usual fashion. We're not going to talk favorite fashion, but normally how they dress, their quirks. So like kind of like what little things do they personally do that help to identify them, their physical quirks. So like what are some physical things that they do that might define them, strengths, face and hair, weaknesses, hygiene, and goals. Yes, I know it's a lot, and I'm going to go through this with you guys to help show you how you can do this nice and quick without getting too bogged down the details, but it's always good to go deep into detail for yourself. But we're going to focus on trying to keep this concise. So again, if you wish to share, by all means, write out what you've got in the chat. Otherwise, please write it out on a separate doc, in a notebook, on a sheet of paper, on a napkin, whatever you've got. And let's get going. So the character that I have right here, which was commissioned from Komu, who does a lot of the really great Deltarune and Cruzy art. This is a character that I asked for her to draw. So his name is Vix. I'm Omega, so primarily humanoid characters. I'm Omega. You can go full alien or monster or robot. In fact, actually, the weirder, the better, maybe. But I'm choosing Vix just because he's a character I'm currently working on with the final edit for my upcoming book. So he's kind of locked up there in my head. And using a humanoid character is a good base. But for whatever characters you've got, by all means, choose whichever one you want. So Vix's personality. So this guy is pretty happy. He's what you would call a go-lucky character. However, here's the thing. So he's pretty happy. He's go-lucky. However, he does like to put on a facade, meaning that you don't really understand what he's always thinking or what he's always feeling, because he does not want to let people in on certain aspects of himself. So I'm going to put in here, sometimes puts on a happy facade. He's personable. So it's pretty easy to be friends with Vix, I would argue. However, he can also be really annoying, energetic. Spell energetic correctly. And here's a good word for you, exuberance. So there is in the chat, there is my description for Vix's personality. He's a happy-go-lucky character, sometimes puts on a happy facade to cover up how he's really feeling. He's personable, but he can also be annoying, energetic, and exuberant. which in his particular case gets him into a lot of trouble because he's on a flying military base. That's very rigid. So a guy like this is going to stick out like a sore thumb. Now then, his body type. Vix is tall. And when I'm talking tall, so in this particular story, their measurements are different from the usual centimeters to inches that the rest of the world uses. In terms of our real world way of looking at things, this kid is about 6'7". So pretty tall. You'd want to have him on your basketball team. So that also means he's really gangly. That's a good word right there. He's gangly. Not only is he tall, but he's thin, somewhat awkward.
Starting to sound a little bit more like Jed.
Oh, yes. No, there's definitely some Jed inspiration. And I will actually get to that.
I love that.
Yeah, so we got Vix is tall, he's gangly, he's thin, he's awkward. That is his body type. Though I will also put in there because he is a part of a military installation and he has to be ready for combat, he is fit. Fit, built like a runner. And I don't know how many of you have been friends with runners before, but runners are very fit. There's definitely muscle to them, but they do not look like they hit the gym all the time. And that's probably a good way of picturing how Vix is supposed to look. Now then, if any of you are already looking at the picture right here and are all like, okay, I see the happy, I see the go-lucky. I could see him putting on a happy facade. I can see the annoying and energetic, but I'm not seeing the tall and the fit part to this right here. We will talk about that. We will talk about how we get from my description to this later. And I love that I see that Wafi is already putting information in there. Roblox has also got it. Fabio. Fantastic. And the reason why I want you guys to write this on out is because we will be using this information later. So let's then talk Vix's relationships. So when we talk about relationships for Vix, so again, because he is personable, he does get along with some people, but his exuberance, his excitement does rub a lot of people the wrong way. So he actually does not have as many friends as you would expect on this military installation. His best friends are Edom and Celine, who are young mages like himself. Young war mages like himself. Natakan is his surrogate father and mentor. You then have General Hecamine, who is his commanding officer. That's very important. Sorry. And no, I'm not saying sorry. That comes across the way. Sorry. Man, her name does sound a whole lot like I'm saying sorry. Also, I will exaggerate her name a bit. Sorry. Sorry is, in terms of relationships, this is the bad girl he should not date. And then, as far as another relationship goes, because this is important, with our bad relationships, we have Volron R. Yes, this is a really weird name, but Volron R, is the colonel who really hates Vix, and they do not get along. In any page where Volron R and Vix are there, sparks are flying. You can immediately read Vix as being really ticked and really angry. Same with this guy. And then there are the Inquisitors, the military Inquisitors. Vix fears these guys because the Inquisitors have the right to execute him at any point in time should they feel like they need to. And so these relationships will determine how he carries himself. What is his facial expression like and everything? How will he act? So relationships. Now then, what is Vix's usual fashion? His fashion is hardy clothing that can withstand small explosions. And this consists of a beaten up trench coat and a mage's hat. And the reason for the hat is because they want everyone to know that you are a mage. Because people in this world hate wizards. They hate wizards and witches. And so if you are one, you are required to wear a hat. So that way everyone knows who you are from far away. And that way they can avoid you or pick on you. Which would actually be a horrible idea to pick on a mage. But people in this world are not the most how best to put it, the most accepting. So if you're a magic user, you are wearing that hat. Wafi, more about Rex fashion. He doesn't wear anything. That doesn't mean he's naked. He just is made of shadow strength. He can turn his body inside out and for himself, also make himself bigger. Hey, Wafi, that's cool. I like that description right there. Then for quirks of Vix's, he's prone to excited outbursts. Whoop. He's prone to excited outbursts, bad jokes, and jumping to conclusions. Now then, as far as physical quirks go, he stuffs his hands in his pockets. Which, again, you would not normally see, especially for this kind of an image, because you want to see a little bit more of this guy. But he puts his hands there into his pockets because that's where he's got items and whatnot that he can use to help him out with his magic. So his strengths. What are some things that we can say about Vix? He is durable. This guy is built to withstand explosions, in part because his magic is to summon explosions. Think Megamine from Konosuba, except he's not a glass cannon that takes himself out with one spell. So he can use tons of explosions, and normally those explosions are close to him. So this guy is incredibly durable. He is also fast. And thanks to the training that he's been given by other mages, even though he's not the smartest cookie, he thinks really, really fast. He's a fast thinker, not necessarily the smartest. So those are some strengths of his, which are really good in combat, but because this is a murder mystery story that he takes part in, he's not the best detective that you want. He has to rely on other characters to really help him get through the mystery. Vic seems like a very nice character to be around. Well, thank you. That's kind of the hope. The hope is that if you're someone who likes to have a good time, you should get along with Vix. And Vix would probably get along with you. Is what I want. Now then, as far as face and hair goes, so Vix's face and hair. This guy, think Irish. So he's pale-skinned, reddish hair. with so he's wide-eyed. So very excited, like, woo, big eyes, excited about the world, which helps to kind of convey some of his little bit of naivete and great energy. Big laughing mouth. For his size, a medium nose. No big nose, no small nose. Strong chin. And green eyes. Because if you're going to go pale and redheaded, then you might as well absolutely commit to the stereotype. So looking at his face immediately, pale skinned, medium nose, green eyes, reddish hair, strong chin, big laughing mouth. There's your vessel. His emotions then is what makes his face actually become expressive. So knowing that he's an energetic person, that he's a personable guy, that helps you then to envision him looking really smiley. But now then, imagine when he's with Volrenar, the colonel that he hates. How does his face contort into anger? Those wide eyes could either be wide with rage or could suddenly narrow almost supernaturally to daggers. Be like, oh, I hate you. That wide mouth for smiling might suddenly now become a mouth full of grinding teeth as he's super angry. Or if he's around the Inquisitors and he's scared, now those eyes are wide with fear. That wide mouth is suddenly small in shock and in horror. This helps you to change that character, those emotions. So I hope I'm communicating that with this. His weaknesses. Oh, what are Vix's weaknesses? So headstrong can be a strength, but headstrong can also be a weakness. And I'm going to put this as a weakness because he gets really bullheaded. So likely to make mistakes. He makes loads of promises, doesn't keep half of them, which is not good. It's not good for a guy to make lots of promises and then barely keep half of them. And his energetic self can also get him into a lot of trouble. Again, he can be really annoying. But one of his weaknesses is that while he's a fast thinker, he's not necessarily book smart. So he's not book smart, which isn't all that great for trying to be a detective in the moment. And another thing, which is both a strength in a way, but also a weakness, is how determined he is to prove himself. So he tries too hard to prove himself. Because he wants other people to like him. He wants to be accepted into society despite being a mage. So he tries too hard. And that causes problems. And he's also easily tempted. So he's headstrong, likely to make mistakes. He makes loads of promises, doesn't keep half of them. He's not book smart. He tries too hard to prove himself. He's easily tempted. And I would also probably add in there that he's a bit of a liar. He will fib multiple times to get his way. And that comes back to bite him in the rear multiple times and in various ways. Now then, hygiene. Oh boy, the hygiene. Vix is often dirty. And that's because of his explosion magic. And also, his appearance with his clothing is very tattered. He looks tattered. However, he does wash every day. So this guy is clean, but you often see him dirty because of his magic and because of his clothing. And in a way, you can actually see that when you look at how the character's been drawn here, is that while he looks a little bit wild and friendly, if you look at his face, you look at his hands, they're clean. His clothes, on the other hand, definitely look like they've gotten beaten up pretty often. Now then, as far as his goals go, Vix's goals, he wants to solve a murder, save Natakon from being implicated as the killer, and he wants all people to respect war mages. So those are his goals. Now you might be wondering, okay, well, why does a goal matter in how I describe him, in how I describe a character physically, or how he's supposed to be drawn? This comes down to something that Nathan brought up earlier about when you say that a character wears glasses, okay, an artist is going to say, I understand that, but what kind of glasses? And if you say a character is hopeful and I want to see that on their face, okay, but what are they hopeful for? And that helps an artist to start thinking about, how do I really want to present that sense of hope, or that sense of sturdiness, or that sense of anger, or that sense of innocence? When you describe what a character's goals are, the artist, and even you yourself, begin thinking about what elements can be added to a character that really begin to bring out who that person is and what they're striving for. While it doesn't immediately present itself in the image, as the reader gets to know the character, then all of those little details start making way more sense. So when I say that Vix wants everyone to respect war mages, when you have a look at this guy right here, he might just seem really happy-go-lucky, but then you can maybe start seeing a little bit about how confident he is. Look at this. He's not shy at all. He's very open. He's showing off his mark. On his hand is the mark that shows that he is a mage, not just his hat. He is not shy of who he is. He wants everyone to know he's a mage. And if you get to know this mage, then maybe you might just come to like him. And if you can come to like who Vix is, then maybe you can get to know and like all the other war mages, and you don't have to fear them and be prejudiced towards them. And that, while it's not something that's instantly communicated in this image, the more you get to know about Vix, the more you can see how Komu put that confidence and that goal into who he is. Because these are things that I told her, and that's how she then created the image that you see here on the screen. Now then, I am so happy to see that a lot of you guys have been putting in details about your own characters. I'm not going to go through and read all of them because you guys have been putting in a lot of information right here, which again, thank you so much for going along with this, guys. And I really do hope that this helps you out as you think about how you are going to write these characters, how you're going to describe their physicality, their appearance, their personality, and I really, really hope that this helps you out. ISO left a little note right here about dinner. I'm making dinner, so I'm taking screenshots to do this later. I have ideas though, so I think this will go well. Excellent. Now then, this is something that in other discussions I've talked about with other writers, where they're like, okay, Lars, sure. So you gave me this list of things that I need to write, but I still can't imagine my character. They're not coming into my mind. I don't see them. I can write it, but I don't see them. And that's okay. If you find yourself in that situation, I understand that. Not all characters immediately and clearly come into your head. So I want to give you a little bit of advice that might help you to bring out that image. And then we'll come back to this. So if you can't envision these characters, here's some tricks to try. First, think of the people in your life. We often draw inspiration for our characters from the people that we ourselves know. Describe those people. If someone has helped to inspire your story, I want you to imagine that person because you can recall that memory. And I want you then to start recalling information about what that person looks like. And if those descriptions have anything to do with the character that you've written. Second, think about the books, the movies, the shows, the comics, etc., that have inspired your story. It can be anything from Murder Drones to Legend of Zelda to The Lord of the Rings to Star Trek. What story and characters have inspired what you yourself are writing? Describe those characters.
I want to just put like a little note in here.
Yeah.
That I think that is a great place to start, but I do want to warn against trying to, or like incorporating too much of the people you know to the point where it's like you're almost making a caricature of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely like use the people you know as a basis, but expand upon that. I always say
Yes.
that because I definitely have some characters that I took inspiration from people I know in real life. Sorry. While you were doing that, my wife brought me dinner, so I was eating while you were doing all of that, and so I got burps right now. Anyway,
No worries.
that's all besides the point. But I definitely have characters that are inspired by people I know in real life, right? And a lot of their struggles are kind of similar to the struggles that they faced. But the thing that's really important is that you take those people and those struggles that you are wanting to base these characters off of, and you make it like matter in the story, and you make it matter in the world. Like you have to adapt them into the character that the world needs, not the character your friend, your middle school best friend wants you to write, or just putting them in the story. It's not going to be as fulfilling if you are doing an insert of somebody but using them as an inspiration, as a kicking off point, is a great place to start.
Yeah. No, and that, thank you, Nathan, for giving that, because that is great advice. Starting off with the people that both fictional and real who have inspired you, or that you think about, is a good start. It's a good starting line, but you don't want to just copy and paste someone on over, because that's not necessarily great. So hopping back, and I'll actually expand on that a little bit more with two other slides that I have where I will show you some characters who are inspired by people I went to high school with. But I will also talk about the differences. So with Vix, there's Nathan brought this up earlier. Our good friend Jed, definitely there's some elements of Jed, and not just the gangliness, but there's a slight hint of Jed's sense of humor to Vix, and so I drew on like, hey, funny, tall, smooshed together, but also I drew on the idea of Rand from the Wheel of Time. Rand, who is supposed to be kind of Irish-ish in inspiration. And so I'm like, ooh, Rand. I liked Rand from the Wheel of Time. We'll borrow some of Rand's physical traits and his stubbornness. We'll put that then into Vix. And also I kind of, for inspiration for Vix, I thought a lot about isekai protagonists that I really don't like. And I was like, what would the opposite of them be? And that kind of created Vix. So I took
that.
positive and negative
of Kirito.
Yes. Vix is the antithesis to Kirito. Darn you, Kirito! So Vix did, and so what? And one of the other reasons why I bring this up is because our characters don't just exist in a vacuum. They come from somewhere. Vix is an amalgamation of multiple points of inspiration, from someone that I know in real life to a fictional character that I really like, and then inspiration from characters that I don't like. And then there are points of inspiration that come directly from this story, where I'm like, okay, this is the story I want to tell, and then elements of Vix started coming to life as I engaged in the story, as I came up with this character. Things that were not originally in my head just came into being. And that's absolutely fine. You do not need to know every last detail about your character when you start to write. But it does help to start laying them out and
I
to
think
add
at
more
the
detail
very
as you write.
least, yeah, I think at the very least you need to understand the goals of your characters before you start to write them. Otherwise, you're not going to know what to do with the character. You're not going to know where to put them in and how to make full use of them. Because a character without motivations is very one-dimensional.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, thank you for bringing that up, because it reminds me, I was having a gardening thought this afternoon while I was taking care of my garden. And for one book that I've wanted to write, and I'll actually introduce you guys to one of the characters from that book later on. I was thinking about how right now the first book, as I intend it, is too much of a ripoff of Mistborn. And the Mistborn book is great, and if I can be anything like if I can write anything like Sanderson's Mistborn, I will be ecstatic. But I don't want it to just be like a 1-for-1 copy. And so actually part of it came down, like how I would change it, did come down to character motivations. Slight spoilers, one character intends to betray the others. I'm not saying who, but one character intends to betray the others. And I suddenly realized, what if I did the betrayal earlier than I intended? And that suddenly changes everything, where it no longer then feels like a Mistborn ripoff. I can absolutely hurl a very different story now at my readers, and it fits because it was already baked in that one character was going to betray the others. And now I'm just doing it at a slightly different time, and now it changes the story. I'm like, oh, I'm excited.
As long as I can find somebody to hate more than Moash, I'll be good.
Oh my gosh. It is going to be so hard to find someone who you can hate more than Moash. I mean, Gary?
Gary's a different kind of hate, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that is true. That is true. Gary's a very different kind of hate. For anyone who doesn't know about the hatred for Moash, read the Stormlight Archive. You will come to despise Moash.
Spoiler alert.
But like, Moash is not a likable character even in the first book. Like,
I thought he was passable.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I didn't hate him for sure, but I definitely didn't like. I didn't think he was the best character, or I loved him, but I definitely thought like that. I felt like he was a good addition to the group, but not necessarily the most likable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I liked him as a foil to Kaladin, but there were so many people I remember who were just absolutely head over heels for him, even by the end of the second book. And I'm like, no, this guy's a jerk.
Yeah,
I do like. I'm like, even if he has a reason to hate other people, he's not a good guy. Read the Stormlight Archive. The 5th book is coming out. Woo!
I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited as well. I've actually been invited to a sales day party for Truth and Wind.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And I'm like, oh yes, I'll be there. I'm gonna hang out with a bunch of nerds.
When does that come out?
Let me double check. Actually,
I guess I could do that. I thought you probably had it on the top of your head, but
no, I've been so busy that it's exact December 6th. Oh, ich weiß genau, was mein Weihnachtsgeschenk sein sollte.
Oh no, he's gone full German.
I've gone
We're
full
in trouble
German.
now.
Sankt Nikolaus, Santa Claus, can I have wind and truth for a present, please? I will forego all chocolates in my shoe. I would like to have that. For those of you who don't know, in my family, we celebrate. We celebrate the German Christmas, which means that Santa Claus, or in our case, Sankt Nikolaus, shows up on the night of the 5th. And so on the 6th, you then have goodies and small presents from St. Nicholas. And the big present day is on the 24th when the Christ child shows up to give you your presents. Yay. So Christmas traditions. We'll get more into Christmas later on.
I'll look forward to it.
Oh, yeah. And again, I love how many of you guys are still putting in details for your characters. It's just, I love this. I love seeing what you guys are coming up with. Especially this fashion right here from Fabio. That's some cool stuff. Hey, we got Scott here. To get to that, you need to watch Catch Up Vampires. A total of 145 hours straight.
To turn into Lars.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so mind-melting. Gah!
I watched it once, and that's enough for me. I don't ever want to see it again.
Yeah. The Catch of Vampires is like a one-time thing. Let's see here. So Santa doesn't deliver presents around the world in one night. He visits Germany on a completely different day. Exactly. He compartmentalizes. That's how Santa does it. Roblox. Yeah, Roblox, you were there for the last Christmas live stream. That was fun. Scott says I could put you through Puni Poemi. Ringer. No. Oh, that was so painful.
Stop giving these people fodder to watch. This is terrible. We're gonna be creating. We're gonna make people think that we watch really weird things all the time.
But it's so much fun. I mean, I do watch some weird stuff every now and then, but oh boy.
It's not, yeah.
Now then, here's where I want to shift gears a little bit, as far as this live stream goes, because I want to talk now about taking the descriptions for your characters and communicating them to other people, especially to artists. And what I have right here for talking about the Stormlight Archive, I have the images of Dalinar, High Lord of Dads. I love Dalinar so much. So here's something you need to know about the depiction of most characters in the Stormlight Archive. And I did not catch this my first few times reading the books. There are some people who said, oh yeah, no, I totally caught that they were supposed to be Korean. I didn't. And most other readers did not as well. When you read the Stormlight Archive for the first time, a lot of characters are going to sound potentially Roman to you, especially Kaladin, Dalinar, Adolin, because of the way that they're described as being tan, buff, imposing, warlike. A lot of people thought, who do we know who's buff, tan, imposing, and warlike? The Italians! And so early character art made by fans, and this artwork is gorgeous, by the way. I love this depiction on the left for Dalinar. This is the Roman Dalinar. And later on, like a couple years later, fans were like, Brandon Sanderson senpai, what is your favorite artwork for Dalinar? And he finally confessed, I always thought of Dalinar more as a Korean-looking guy. And he then said most of the characters in the Stormlight Archive are actually meant to look Asian. The only character that we have met who is definitely not Asian in inspiration is Seth. Seth is European. He's the one European dude in the entire story. And so by comparison, he's super pale and he's wide-eyed. He's got eyes that are just to everyone else are unnaturally big. And so And so he was like, I thought that was the giveaway. And everyone was like, no, we just thought that Seth was really weird. So there was then a transition in fan art to try to capture the more Asian look for the characters. And so you then have this middle image, which again, I really like, of Dalinar, who's kind of like a blend between Korean and European with the way that he's presented with his size, his jaw looks very Eastern European, but he's got then the Asian eyes going. And then his wife is very Korean looking. And then over here to the right, we then have the more proper Asian looking Dalinar. And with the more angular, slender face, the slanted eyes. And what I want to bring up by showing this is that in every one of these three images, that is Dalinar. If you read the books, that is Dalinar.
That is what Dalinar looks like, all three of those images, even though they're all completely different.
Exactly. And that is absolutely fine. I have met too many people who get hung up on, it must be precise. Doesn't really need to be. And sometimes we as the authors, we need to let go of that.
Yeah,
because
I was going to say my best advice for anybody trying to or at least commissioning somebody for a character is to let go of that character. You are now as a creator, you are now sharing your creation with somebody, and they are taking liberties that you're not going to see or not going to understand, and you need to let go a little bit. And that's just something about sharing a creation, creating something together, is that you need to be flexible on what can and can't be represented. Now, I think that, you definitely, there are some things, some tweaks that you can suggest to make them more similar to how you envision it. Like, I can imagine this picture, all the way to the end is probably closer to what Sanderson imagines, but probably not at all what he does imagine, but each of these options are all very, very Dalinar-esque, and any of these, I'm sure Sanderson would be very happy to put on the front cover, even if, or just a little bit of tweaking to make it a little bit closer to what he imagines. But there's no way the artist is going to be able to perfectly recreate what you have in your mind's eye. And you need to let go of that image so that your art can actually flourish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I just want to bring up, when I look at all these images, again, when you read the books, you can appreciate each one of these. From the military Dalinar that's to the left, like when you read the first book, Dalinar the warrior, holy cow, this guy is imposing. He looks so cool in his armor. His sword, Oathbringer, that can just slice through tons of people. He's so dang cool. And you just imagine him as just, even though he's described in the book as very rough and mashed, the way that he holds himself, the way that he speaks, he's so confident that he just sounds like a super handsome guy. However, he's always referred to as mashed and a little bit more not attractive. And so in the middle, you get that mashed jaw. You get the gray on his sides, showing that he is a more aged warrior. But you also get how disciplined he is in the middle image. And there he is right next to his wife. He's a loving man, despite being a warlord. This guy is someone who can love. And that's beautiful. And then for the image on the right, here we have the older, beaten Dalinar. You can see the intensity of this man. And yet, there's also something soft about him that the illustrator managed to capture, which I love to see. And they also did his nose real good justice in this image. On the one for the right, that is his nose. And so you get the not quite so handsome Dalinar. You get his intensity, but you also get some of his softness. You get the warrior, and he is more ethnically correct. All of these capture an aspect of Dalinar. The artists for these images are fantastic. And I agree with Nathan. I think that if you were to give these images to Sanderson, Sanderson would be over the moon. He's like, thank you so much for loving my character that much, that you put so much effort into creating this person, into bringing Dalinar to life. Like, that is what we want to see. Scott says, I feel like letting go can create something even better sometimes. Sometimes that drawing can really flesh out and give you more detail for your characters that you hadn't thought about of before that point. Yes, and I've got an image to show you guys for that along those lines. So thank you for bringing that up, Scott. Damn, this live stream reminds me of an old podcast episode y'all did at one point before I even joined up. I don't remember that, unfortunately, Scott. I don't remember.
I think he might be talking about the old Killing Your Darlings episode.
Oh, okay. Right, we got to do something with those episodes.
I know at some point we did discuss a topic similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, that was a long time ago, back when we were regularly doing the podcast.
Yes. Much younger, much more naive. We still had some good insights.
Much more rambly.
Much more rambly, especially me.
But we love you anyway.
Thank you. All right. So, how do you communicate this information to other people? Everything that you guys have done with coming back to the writing challenge, I wanted you to create this checklist. Here's the thing. It's not enough to just create the checklist. The checklist is where we begin. But it's not enough for your readers, and it's not enough for an artist. And neither will it do you any good to just have this checklist and try to compose your own illustration just based off of a checklist. This is all to help you get to know who these characters are, not just how they appear. And so what we're going to work on now is we're going to work on how to take those descriptions that you guys have written out here in the chat, which are all awesome, and now we're going to transform those descriptors into the people by using them to help tell their story. So that way an artist can listen to who this character is, what their story is, and then start bringing them to life. So like right here, we have another character that was created, that was illustrated by Kevin, the guy who did the opening artwork. Whoop, back here for Monarch Mercenaries. So he asked if he could do a redo for the main character, Captain Carsonius, who's the guy walking through with his two guns. So he asked if he could do it again, and this was the image that he then created for Carsonius. So here we got our teenage pirate captain. There he is. He's wearing his jeans. He's got his t-shirt because he's just a dude. But he's got the high boots and the captain's coat to help show that this guy is a captain right here. But just look at how young he is. And his posture being all exaggerated, like very physical, very chaotic. And you also actually get to see some of his magic being used, which a little bit of inspiration from Fairy Tale, from Urza, being able to pull stuff from her body. Carsonius can do the same thing, except that there's a little bit more nuance with what Carsonius does. Is it possible to flay off his flesh and then use it? Potentially. It's a little bit gruesome, but there's potential there. In any case, here you see him pulling out one of his guns and getting ready for combat. So there's a lot being detailed right here in this image. But let's jump to another example. This is another image done by Kevin, and Scott will recognize this right here. This is Kizawa Moko right here. Moko is a young gear witch. She is a wild inventor and wanderer. She has a famous grandfather and brother who both raised her. She has a long green hair. She dresses like a witch. She has bits of metal and contraptions in which she uses for her magic. She has a hat, which is bewitched to lead her on to the best adventures. So the hat kind of has a little bit of a sorting hat look to it with the ripped brim mouth. She's headstrong. She's inquisitive, brave, a little naive. I seem to really like writing naive characters. Now then,
it's easy to make naive characters get into naive situations. So that's understandable.
Yeah, I can do world building by having a character trip into something. Now then, so I love Kevin's artwork. I really, really do. The interesting thing is that this is not how I actually really picture Moko to look. Like when I have like the image that I have in my head is a little bit more rigid in terms of her posture, a little bit more wild in the face, believe it or not, and especially her staff looks way different. Now then, based on this and way more information that I gave Kevin, this is what he created. This is Kizawa Moko according to Kevin. And that's totally fine. She might not look the way that I envision her. But I can still see it. I see the wildness. Like, you can't look at this character and think she's not wild. Obviously, she's got witchiness about her. She's got a steampunk air about her, which is what I definitely want to have for this character. She seems very confident, a little bit laid back, which, again, is really good. Her clothes are dirty and travel worn, which really fits her and everything. So a lot of the details are actually what I want to have for this character. Sure, she doesn't look like the way that I specifically imagine her to be, but there's Moko. And this is, again, just an example of you can have a very strong image in your mind of how you want your character to look. But the moment that you hand off that character and their description on over to someone else, they will start creating something that they envision based off of that. They can't see what's in your head. And you need to say, I'm okay with that. I want to see the best that you can do. And that's also a great way to be respectful to your artist. Because if you disrespect your artist, that's not good for you. But yeah, I'm not going to reveal too much more for this character since she is part of a book that I haven't yet published. So I will not yet completely give away that information. Now then, for a character who I have published for, Jessica Myers. Now then, this is part of the cover art for my third book, The Marauding Empire, Part 1. Jessica Myers, she is a popular cheerleader turned prisoner. She's a closet nerd. She's people savvy. She's daring. She's tenacious. She's proud. And I actually drew a lot of inspiration for her look and her personality from someone that I knew in high school. There was a girl on the dance line who was super attractive, super preppy, very, very girly. Turns out, after high school, when she graduated, she went and joined the Coast Guard, which is no small thing. Coast Guard is all intense. She filled out, became really muscular. Turns out she was absolutely a closet nerd. She loved comics. She apparently loved The Lord of the Rings and never broadcasted that in high school because she was a part of a clique, and that clique said you need to act and look a certain way. Once the bounds of high school were off, or once the constraints of high school were off, she could be her best self. Which is now a retired, she's not yet retired because she's not that old, but she left the Coast Guard, so she is a Coast Guard veteran, super fit mommy, nerd, outgoing, and all of that. And I wanted to take that inspiration. I'm like, I want to have a character like you. And so I used her as inspiration, but Jessica is also her own person. Because as opposed to my friend, Jessica gets to go to a fantasy world. Well, what does that do to her? How does that make her experience? And because she is someone who is, in the first book, captured, brought to the Dark Lord Sean into his citadel, she tries to break away from him. Her friends are all brutally murdered. Her rebellion gets put down. She decides that the best course of action for her is to actually join with him and become his apprentice. And so when I shared this then with the artist Idle Lark, this is Idle Lark's work right here. She decided to illustrate Jessica right here with this dark battle uniform. We did a little bit of research into battle dresses, real thing, battle dresses for women, what that would look like. She actually, in the book, I described Jessica's hair as actually being way shorter and sharply cut, very jagged. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. But Idle Lark decided that it would look better for her in this image to have her hair actually be a little bit longer and a little bit more uniform, not quite as jagged and wild. We have her using her weapon, her signature weapon, which is a sword spear. And so here you've got it, as she has become the apprentice of the Dark Lord, here with her battle dress, here with her awesome weapon, her dyed black hair flying above the clouds, locked in battle. This is taken out of one of the climactic scenes of the third book. And so there she is. And when you get to know her story better, you can begin to recognize that, yeah, this is who she is. You got a fit girl, obviously younger. You can see how she is definitely depicted as the villain with how dark and everything is, and how her weapon is black and orange and red. There's not really any sort of kindness to her. This is a girl who, through her experiences through the first 3 books, has become someone who we could term as a villain, even though you might be rooting for her to be rescued and to be the hero. At least at this point in the story, she's definitely not that. And this was fun to communicate this and see it drawn out. Now then, another illustration.
Just seeing that picture just brings a huge smile to my face.
Yes.
I love Asuka.
I love Asuka as well. I love her so much. Best girl. Best girl.
Hands down, best girl.
Now then, maybe it's because I've had so much experience with explaining Asuka to other people. But what I want you guys to do when we get to the end, and I give you guys your final writing challenge, I want you to really try to capture this kind of brevity and depth, like what I give right here for Asuka. So again, this is an illustration that was done by our good friend Kevin. Yeah, I'll take a quick drink right there. This is another illustration done by Kevin, who did all of the artwork for the book Bleed, Steam, and Steel. And here's my description for Asuka. Asuka is a firstborn woman of Endo, meaning that she is a warrior for life. And the people of Endo are very heavily influenced on Japanese culture, Japanese history. So yes, she's going to look more samurai-like. She's got a kimono on and everything. She is the head of her family, a family which is on the verge of destitution and dishonor. So Asuka uses her mother's paladin, a giant steam mech suit, as a tool to encourage her rivals to engage in high-stake duels to save her family. She's tall, she's muscular with long and black hair. She's usually messy because she's a bit of a grease monkey. But if you clean her up, she's quite pretty and feminine. And so when I gave this description and a little bit more to Kevin, this is what he created. And I freaking love it. He captured Asuka so dang well because you can see. I mean, yeah, she's got the swords, she's got her katana, and was it the wasa? Scott is probably going to get on my case for this. The wasasashi, which is the sword, which is the shorter sword. And then there is a kimono. She's got a pink kimono going on here for the feminine look. You see the long dark hair. She has a feminine face, but look at her arms, look at her chest, and no, don't just ogle the soft mountains. Look at the muscle. This is a lady who can punch your lights out. Wakasashi. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for correcting me. The Wakasashi. So you have the elements of her being a warrior, of being a lady, being strong, being tall, the hair. But then also when you start looking at it, and it's a little bit difficult. I could have blown up this image a whole lot more, but when you look at her more closely, you can see the smudges of dirt and grease on her from being a grease monkey. Look at her gloves. Her gloves are meant for hardy labor. Her pants are thick. They're meant to take a beating. And then she's got the thick boots on, the boots of a warrior, but also the boots of a worker. And so in this image right here, you get the seriousness, you get the confidence, you get the femininity, you get the strength, the brutality. You have the aspect of her being a warrior, a woman, a mechanic. All of that is in there. Especially I love the goggles being on there. I actually, if I remember correctly, I think I actually asked him to put either the goggles down by her throat or right there on her forehead. And what Kevin decided to do was actually to push the goggles back even further to then act as a hairband, a full-on hairband instead. And I thought that was really cool because, again, kind of actually helps to accentuate a little bit more of her femininity as well as communicate she's a grease monkey. And so that was something that Kevin added to her final look that was not originally a part of my plan, and I like it. It was neat how I gave him the description and how he then worked with it and added in his own little bit to really bring out a lot of that. As it says, hi, my brother's username is Endo. I'll recommend Bleed, Steam, and Steel to him. Hey, yes, definitely recommend it. It's because it's a great book, if I do say so myself.
I will concur. It is honestly one of my favorite stories that you've written. Although I do need to catch up on some of your more recent ones. Mm-hmm. But I think Bleed, Steam, and Steel is probably one of the best places to start when it comes to your series.
Oh, I'll agree with that. When I read Bleed, Steam, and Steel, I'm like, I can't believe I wrote this. This is so dang good.
That's how you know you made it.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's so much fun. Oh my gosh. Though I think that Tumble Teller is the one that a lot of other people now are like, this is your book, man. A lot of people have enjoyed reading Tumble Teller, which is great. I
need to read it then. I think that's one of the ones I haven't read.
Yeah. It's a good quick read because I kept that one novella length. It's one of my it's a shorter book.
And that in itself is a hat trick.
Nate,
not just for you, but just in general.
Yeah, because a lot of my books are really long.
Yeah, but honestly, writing a short book is harder than writing a big book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. So many things I had to leave on the cutting room floor. I love the kind of woman who will actually just kill me.
I was going to say something. I don't know if you can see the through line with all of these female these female characters, they're all pretty muscular. I think Lars has a type.
I do have a type. Which actually, was the funny thing is, like, coming back on over here to Jessica, she's fit, but she's not necessarily super muscular. Also, no, I'm not crushing on a high school student.
You just want somebody who can break your back.
Yes, this is true.
Just break you over your her knees. Just
I need a woman who can tie me into knots.
Oh, jeez.
In all the right ways.
Who can but won't.
Yeah. Scott says really like Notice Me Senpai. I should have included the Notice Me Senpai imagery in the slideshow because I love what Nekaru did for Notice Me Senpai. And yes, those I definitely wrote those girls differently than the usual muscle mamas. Hey, Arts is here. Great to have you here, Arts. Arts, what aren't you telling us, Lars? Oh, there's lots of things. TV account. I was doodling while this part of the lecture was going on. It's really informative. Hey, TV account. Great. Really great. But yeah, so this right here is Asuka. And again, what I hope that you guys are able to do eventually is kind of have a little excerpt like this, what I have here for Asuka, and be able to write something like that for one of your own characters, to hand that off to an artist. Granted, this is not everything that I shared with Kevin, but this is kind of like the beginning of like, this is who I'm thinking of. And then the artist is like, oh, okay, so tell me more. And then that's when you be like, okay, I've got more details and I can then share them with you. I should mention Blade Tigrera from Bakugan. Hope you like giant tiger women as well. I will not be prejudiced towards giant tiger women. Scott, he's not telling you that he's a writing god and writes more than all of us combined. Hey, I try and I don't like actually bragging about that because that does get intimidating for some people. Where I'm like, yeah, I write so many words a day, and people are like, oh, and then they're like, I can't do that. And then I've actually watched as people are like, I'm not going to write. I'm like, no, don't. Just because I can write a whole lot in a day doesn't mean that you shouldn't write. It's just me. So I've learned not to brag about that.
I've come to terms that I sit in front of a computer all day for my job doing programming, and I now have a hard time sitting down in front of a computer to do writing at the end of the day. And so the rare moments I get where I do actually want to write are usually on weekends. And when I'm only writing on the weekend, it becomes very difficult to get a lot of words in. But I am planning on doing NaNoWriMo. I don't know if I'll be able to do the full word count, but I am going to try and write every single day. If not every day, 5 times a week. That is, I am trying to do that. I'm committing to it. And you all and God is my witness.
Excellent. Say we can keep keep each other accountable because I'm also going to try tackling NaNoWriMo. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's going to be a crazy adventure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let us move on right here. So Ben Phillips, real quick. This is another character from the Legend of the Ten Lords series. He's a high school track runner. He's book smart and has a small circle of good friends. He's not very imaginative, which isn't good in a story where your imagination is your superpower. If you're not very imaginative and you draw on your imagination for your magic, yeah, that's going to be kind of bad. He's fiercely loyal. He hates bullies. He's resilient. However, he's also easily swayed by a pretty face. And again, naive. He's on a journey to discover himself while juggling saving Jessica, his crush, Mrs. Dark Lord Apprentice right there, and is saving the world of Halicruz. Guy's got dark hair. He's got a lithe build, meaning that he's narrow but a little bit muscular. Blue eyes, taller than average, but definitely not Vix/Jed tall. And so with this and a little bit more that I gave to Idol Lark, who also again did this artwork. This is what Idle Art came up with. Now, the interesting thing is this. I had told Idle that he's got dark hair, and she gave him more brownish blonde hair. And again, like, I could make a big stink about it, but I liked what I saw right here, because this definitely captured one of the moments that I really wanted, where this is in the third book where Ben finally makes it into the heart of the Dark Lord's domain. He's so close to saving Jessica, and you just have this crazy battle playing out on the ground and in the sky, which is why you have a ship that's shattering, falling in half, and burning right behind him because he's rammed his way through it. The large sword that you see right here is actually in the background a massive tower built to resemble a sword. And so, like, this is one of the big climactic moments of the entire book right here. And so she captured the intensity. He's got the slim build. This guy looks like a guy who takes on his problems head on, not necessarily a huge thinker, a brawler. And that works for him because that's how I largely write him. So even though he's not exactly the way that I describe him in the book, he looks acceptable to me, even as the author. I'm like, that's Ben. He doesn't look exactly like how I envisioned Ben, but that's still Ben when I look at him. And again, yeah.
Oh, and I was just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say that looking at, just like the hair itself, I actually feel like the image pops a little bit more because it's not dark hair. Like, you're kind of able to get more of the highlights off of the burning ship in the background, and you're able to kind of have a little bit more separation from like the shadow of the ship. Mm-hmm. This is just my artist brain thinking. Like, if his hair was darker, I don't think, well, and it would be very much the same as his clothes. So it would be, it wouldn't pop out. His face wouldn't pop out as much if he had darker hair. And so that is a liberty that the artist kind of, I feel like, maybe had to take to make this scene land a little more. And so I think that that's a great example of just like, sometimes the artist will need to make liberties to make the art better. Mm-hmm. And you'll have to let go of things to let the art become better.
Exactly. And this is something that I've learned in my own experiences working with Zaza. Zaza did some of the earliest artwork for The Legend of the Ten Lords, and I gave them exactly like how I wanted like the cover to be kind of like a movie poster and whatnot. Like, I had this great image in my mind, and Zaza replicated exactly what I asked them to do, and then it looks bad. And I'm like, and then
Zaza, as a note, it was not any of Zaza's fault. It was just that Lars didn't have the vision, for what it should have been, and Zaza executed it perfectly.
Exactly.
And the artwork itself was great, but the formatting of the picture just did not land. I do remember that.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to get to is that later on, like, I asked Zaza to do some like character art for other stories and everything. And suddenly their artwork just came to life because they had way more creative freedom to do what needed to be done for a character or for an illustrated scenario. And so there's times where, like, if you yourself are not a well-trained artist working with another artist, sometimes you just have to say, Jesus, take the wheel, or in this case, artist, take the wheel, because I have an idea, but maybe it's really not all that great. And I've had that so many times where I'm like, here's an idea, and the artist is like, I like your idea, but it might not work as well as you think. What if we tried this instead? And by trusting a trained artist, like, it's always turned out better than if I'm like, no, follow my checklist. They have all of the descriptors needed. It's up to them then to find the best way to bring that to life.
I feel like that's like walking into a surgeon's room and being like, all right, I'm here for I'm here for surgery and I need you to cut here. I need you to go in all the way right there. And the surgeon just being like, dude, I know how to do, like, I know better where to cut you than you will know because I've trained for this for 10 years now. You know what I mean? I feel like it's basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Fabio says right here, hope when you scroll to our stuff, you get to mine, dude. I asked for help since some streams ago. Yes, and we'll get to that. Just remember this though, Fabio. As far as like actually creating your character goes, we won't be doing that tonight. That's going to be when we have Zaza here. So we won't, like, we can definitely talk about some aspects of your character, but as far as bringing them to life through an image, that won't be happening tonight. Sorry to say. TV account.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt again, but I'm curious what your plan is is the next live stream the one with Zaza?
No.
Or is it the one after?
Oh, okay. It'll be, we're right now aiming for the 8th of
Gotcha.
November.
Okay, that's right. I remember now. Because I would really like to get into another bit of character creation about, like, creating a character for the story rather than for art. Okay. But I feel like that would be better served for another live stream. And so maybe that's something we can put on the docket, because I kind of I have my 4-step, or what I call creating the 4D character. Because, you've heard of 1-dimensional characters, 2-dimensional characters, 3-dimensional characters. Get ready for the 4th dimensional character.
For the 4th dimension, we are ascending.
And so I would like to talk about that at some point, but I wasn't sure what our live stream schedule looked like for the next few weeks.
Oh no, we can absolutely do that. The next live stream is going to be talking about Halloween as a means of telling a story. And I'll be doing that right before Halloween, and then we'll do again character creation with Zaza the week after.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry. Okay, back to the comments. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. And it says, hello, sorry I'm so late. I was busy at my sister's house. Have fun. Hey, Hannah, it's great that you could pop on in and say hi. And again, our live streams are always up for people to come in and check out whenever they can. So don't feel bad at all. I hope you're having a great time with your sister. Now then, so Fabio, we'll get to your stuff right here. I'm just going to quickly hit a few things, and then we'll then talk about your character, and then I'll then introduce you guys to the final writing challenge, and then we'll start wrapping this up because we've gone on for over 2 hours. All right. So this is artwork from Nekaru. For those who like Deltarune, especially for those who like Cruzy, here you go. This was actually done for a fan fiction that I did years ago for Christmas time, and I was just like, hey, I'm looking for an artist who can bring to life a Christmas date. What can you give me? And what I love about this is how freaking creative she got, because so much of this is not what I originally asked. What I had said was that Chris should be wearing a headband with reindeer horns, and that Susie was going to have a black jacket with steel studs. And that they were going to be sharing presents, because it was supposed to be sharing presents, and under a mistletoe have a kiss. That was it. And I was just like, have fun. And Nekaru just went woo. and just had an absolute blast. And I love the little detail of Noelle freaking out in the background. Now then, you might be wondering, okay, Lars, why on earth is this on in here? This is this is the reason why I put this on in here is because, again, this incredible artwork came from me letting the artist have fun. And that is something that I hope that you can do when you get to a position where, like, let's say you want to work with an artist to help bring your characters to life through illustrations, or you're trying to work on cover art. Be willing to let the artist have fun with your work. Like, it does take a little bit of trust. And sometimes you're not really well rewarded. I will admit, I've been burnt by a few artists. But if you're willing to trust them and have open communication and talk things through, boom, you can then get something that you just look at and you're like, wow, I didn't realize that you could do this with my premise. I was being goofy, and yet you pulled it off. And so again, it's like, it's good to have your descriptions. You need to have a pitch for your characters and for the image. You need to know who your characters are and communicate that to the artist. But again, be willing to let the artist have a little bit of fun. And I think that sometimes you can be rewarded with something really, really cool. Arts, that's definitely sharing. Anna, I see so many ships for both, and it's nice. Yeah, I love what shippers can do with their artwork. This is fantastic. Now then, this is again another little bit here from Kevin. So he illustrated for me some of the characters from the Monarch Mercenaries. And this is again where I had to trust the artist. So I gave to him paragraph blurbs for each one of these characters. So here we have Captain Carsonius. Here we have Miriam. Here we have Wen. Here we have Kanto. And then we have Azeki. Why am I saying this? Because why am I saying this? Because you guys can actually see where I'm pointing with my mouse. So
I was gonna say,
man, this is another reason why we'll have to wrap this thing up. Starting from the top left, we have Azeki, who is a cartoon murderer, who is a cartoon assassin demon. This is something this is interesting here, because this is almost not at all how I envision Azeki. And even when you read her in the book, you'll probably read a much harsher figure. But when I tried to explain who Azeki is to Kevin, I used as a reference, I'm like, think Jessica Rabbit, because she's a femme fatale. She's obviously cartoonish. Her body should not realistically act this way. And that's because she is literally a living cartoon. She is a demon. She is an assassin, femme fatale. And when he got femme fatale, cartoon demon, think Jessica Rabbit, that is what we got. And it works. That is not how Azeki is described in the book, but it still works. And an interesting thing is that he and I actually went back and forth about the skin color, because Azeki is a deep blood red. However, when we were looking at it, Kevin showed me what it would be like if we made her totally dark red in this style. It would completely wash out most of her features. And so again, talking with your artist really can go a long way. And that's where I also began to realize that as an author, you can write vivid images. Sometimes those vivid images have a hard time coming to life in a medium other than written prose. And that's another lesson to learn as an author. I do believe that an artist can easily bring a character to life that you've created with enough time and with enough skill, but it will probably never exactly be, in some cases, exactly as you envisioned. And that's okay. And maybe another artist will one day come along and capture Azeki the same way that I envision her. But for now, what Kevin did was great. The robot that you see off to her side with the big eyes is Kanto. And with Kanto, Again, there's actually a lot of differences from how he's described in the book. His eyes are pixelated, massively pixelated. But the rest of him is very anime. And so when Kevin was trying to capture how on earth do you write an anime computer with a pixelated feature, he's like, that doesn't communicate very well into a comic or into this particular image. So instead, he decided to go full anime with Kanto. And again, I think that's not a bad change. Here Kanto was a fun character to write. He's a very sassy computer. He and Carsonius do not get along. And Carsonius is also somewhat scared of Kanto because Kanto, in order to get power-ups for the ship, has to eat parts of Carsonius. And that's not too much of a spoiler. That's actually something very obviously stated in the book once you get going. Kanto is a very interesting character.
I feel like he'd be a good match for Karen from SpongeBob.
Chomp. Then we have Wen off here to the side. So he is a Vietnamese American, a younger kid. Kevin aged him up a little bit, which is fine. He is an inventor, very outgoing, very, very nice. He's like he's the kind heart of a pirate crew that should not be part of the pirate crew. And I love how he captured that. How you've got just that kindness, that innocent smile. He looks far younger than the other characters. And when you think about it, he does not belong. All the others have got weapons. He doesn't. And that's because Wen doesn't like hurting other people. And so you're like, why is this kid with a pirate crew? Why? Well, it's because he really likes Carsonius. He really looks up to him, and he tries to find ways to help out the crew. He's got a special power where he can invent anything. Only problem is this. Once Wen invents something, he can never recreate it. And neither can he remember how he made it. And so, talk about your one-trick pony, because he can only do one trick once. And then he will forever forget how he did it, which is a real shame, but that was fun. That was fun to write a character who's got kind of such an OP power, but with a ridiculous limitation to it. Also, his creations can never be replicated. That's another thing. People can't ever replicate what he's done. Then Miriam, who is the woman underneath the computer Kanto, very confident, headstrong. This is a woman who really knows who she is, what she wants. She is large and in charge. She acts more like the captain than the actual captain does. And that's represented in how she's drawn. She has almost more of a presence than any other character in this illustration, which is perfect for Miriam. No nonsense, straightforward. She's all about those blades, because her special power is that she can use any blade to emit beams of energy that can just slice through stuff. And then we got good old Captain Carsonius there with his captain's coat flaring behind him as he's getting ready for battle. So, fun images. Read the books. These are the things we like to get to. Then there's Vix with Sari. So coming way back to her as like, this is the girl that he shouldn't date. Yeah, there you go. There's our dangerous gal. Again, done by the artist Komu. And when I say that my book, A Study in Blood, has a toxic relationship in it, I think you only need to have a look at this character and be like, yes, I now see where Lars is coming from. If you don't, then you are absolutely innocent, and I applaud you. So look forward to these characters popping up in an upcoming book coming soon, hopefully. Now then, Fabio asked to have a look at some of the stuff that he wrote. So we'll quickly do a little bit of this, and then I'll give you guys the final writing challenge, a quick bit of Dandadan, and then we'll wrap up. Because, whew, it's almost been 2.5 hours. All right, so... Scrolling. Make sure I find exactly where Fabio began. Okay, so we've got Burn Flamme, or Burn Flam. I'm going to go with Flamme because I like that. Name subject to change. Burn Flamme. Cold, brutal, would find it convenient to be perceived as he is. Relationships. Not many other than the one he actually stuck with through guilds. Okay, I need to know a little bit more about these guilds. Burnt Flamme. Burn Flame. Quirks. His tone of voice and appearance are much less menacing than he is, coming off more like a shonen protagonist, even if one after growing up. All right. Then strengths. Good at what he does, knows when to plan and when to be direct. Weaknesses. Relies a lot on only himself, sometimes including others in his plans to deal with only the rest as he goes for the large threats. So very much a lone wolf, and I'll use other people to do the things I don't like to do kind of a guy. Got it. Fabi, let's see here. Then, so not much other than the pay at the guild. So his goals. Not much other than the pay at the guild, though he wouldn't admit that he does feel he should be doing more unless prompted. Thus to find where to use his skills and find purpose in that. So we've got a lone wolf who's looking for purpose, just kind of seems to be coasting through life as he works for that good old dough. He's good at what he does, is very direct, but doesn't really include people the way that he should. Okay. Body type. Couldn't help but have a sleeper build. Even if he feels being bigger would make it easier to be menacing, still an air of strength, but then again, not what he wants. Okay. Interesting. So sleeper build. Fashion. Eventually, a cape he wraps around from the neck down. He wears armor under it, yet is barely seen with it on or being bright and hard. Fits less with how he wants to look, nor how he does seem. Okay. Physical quirks. Looks skinny under his clothing. Okay, then. So hence the cape and the armor. Do not want you guys to see my little stick self. Face and hair. Though there's more natural expressions, he can look encouraging, confident, in a more excited way than he is. No idea what his face is doing. Red hair that gives off a hot-headed vibe. Looks younger and brighter than he is. So, Fabio, what I would also say right here is that you want to get a little bit more into not just simply he's got an encouraging face and hair. Like, definitely get into details. Like, can you see his cheekbones since he's so thin? Does he look gaunt? Does he look a little bit fleshed out? What color are his eyes? Stuff like that does help to bring out a little bit more of his character and help you to really describe that encouraging look. Because what does an encouraging look like? Except to then say, this is how his face now looks when he's all like, you can do it. As he like, does he cock an eyebrow? Does he smile really encouragingly? Does he puff himself up to have that large presence that you can rely on? Hygiene. Straightforward, direct, deserving of a warrior that earns his pay at the Mercenaries Guild. Usually clean for when he tends to pass by. Good. We don't like stinky mercenaries. Okay, I guess big-eyed would make him look softer. Okay, very good. Now then, with all the stuff that you have that you've given us, Fabio, what exactly are you looking for in terms of advice? Because you've given us the checklist, which is good, and now we need to start kind of working on how you're going to present that character, how you're going to present Burnt Flamme. Wonder, where are you getting these characters? So Wonder, if you want to know where I got these particular characters, so the characters are my own. I've written them for my book, A Study in Blood. But the artist Komu who is known for doing her Deltarune and Cruzy art over on X, I commissioned these particular bits of art from her. And it says, I love these character designs. Awesome. I'm glad that you're enjoying them, because so do I. As I'm waiting for Fabio to give his response, I'll then just already hop on over to the final writing challenge. So in preparation for having your characters drawn, and hopefully, and this is what I would love to see, we'll work this out with Zaza in order to see how efficient we can be and to try to make this fun and accessible to as many people as possible. We do want you guys to have a chance for your characters to be drawn. Also, Zaza has said that they are willing to do commission work for anyone who wishes to have their characters captured in an illustration. So we're going to make that available for all of you when we do the live stream. So that means then if you want to have your characters drawn, you need to be able to transform your checklists into a presentation that you can hand over to an artist like Zaza or to anyone else to start bringing to life. Now, remember, a checklist is fine, but it's not enough. So what I want you to do is I want you to come up with 1 to 2 paragraphs to convey the personality of your characters, their appearance, their goals, and a little bit of what they do in the story. So that way the artist better understands who they are dealing with. And again, I will pop back as an example to Asuka, a firstborn woman of Endo, meaning that she's a warrior for life. She's the head of her family on the verge of destitution and dishonor. Asuka uses her mother's paladin, which is a giant steam-powered mech suit, as a tool to encourage rivals to engage in high-stake duels so she can save her family. She's tall, muscular, long and black hair, usually messy, a bit of a grease monkey, but clean her up and she's pretty feminine. So this right here, I mean, this is probably a little bit more condensed than what you would want to go with, but think along these lines of what you want to aim for in terms of telling the artist who your character is, what their part in the story is, a little bit about what they look like. And that then can help the artist start to imagine even better who they are than just simply giving them a checklist. Man, I wish that Disney producers actually understood this, because this would probably help out a whole lot with making better characters for their upcoming movies. So again, your challenge for in 2 weeks is to have 1 to 2 paragraphs written to convey the personality of your character, their appearance, their goals, and a little bit about what they do in the story. So that way you can present it to Zaza if you want for Zaza to draw your character, or for pitching your character to other artists who might be interested in capturing them in an illustration. This is your writing challenge. So as your Wonder says, I see. So are you giving criticism of other characters? I missed the context about the encouraging smile bit. I bring that up, Wonder, in terms of like, okay, if a character is described as having an encouraging expression, what is an encouraging expression? How else could you describe that? Because you can say that and people can imagine what that looks like, but with your own character, when you understand what your character looks like, you can then describe that encouraging expression pretty well, like in a sentence. Like, Burnt Flamma gave his associate a wide grin from the side and a cocked eyebrow and said encouragingly, "We got this." Like, that would be the description that I would use. Is it getting close to purple prosy? Not quite. It's on the way there. You want to keep it to one sentence, but there I've described Burnt Flamma's expression, which comes across as encouraging. And with the more that the reader already knows about him, like what his eye color looks like, does he got good clean teeth, does he have a strong face, they can then take that information from previously and then apply it to the description of that encouraging smile, that then gets to be like, I know exactly what he looks like. Yes. And they can then build the image in the story in their head as they continue to read, which is what we're aiming for. Oscar looks really...
I want to
Yes.
but in here, I'm not sure if how long Wonder has been in the chat, but for context, Lars issued a challenge earlier where the chat would write down attributes for their characters in the chat, and so Lars was just reading through what Fabio had said, because Fabio had asked for help in coming up with more details on his character, and so that's what Lars was referring to with the character descriptions earlier. So I don't know if that was caught or not, but I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned.
Thank you, Nate.
Sure.
Thanks for that. So let's see here. So coming back to Fabio. So let's see. Present him. He's brutal, tough, but again, appearance wise, he is young, skinnier, not too skinny. Well, under the robe, I guess. He shows more energy than he has. Okay, so putting on a little bit of a show. So he looks like he believes in everyone in a more emotional way than the logical one he's got. I can't imagine the cocked eyebrow bit and all. Okay, all right. So already right here, we're getting a little bit more of what he can look like. And again, this is all just to help you, Fabio, draw out more details of your character so that way you can put in those descriptions where you need to. Like, we've been focusing a lot on artwork as well, like in the second half, but when it comes to writing, knowing more about how your character looks can help you better put in those descriptions. And this is something that I myself have struggled with. Like, I'm not going to say I'm an expert at this at all, because there are times where, like, man, I need to do a little bit better at helping to describe how this character looks in this particular moment. I'm getting a little bit lazy right here. I'm just throwing out descriptions of actions without really supporting that with the description of the character. And that can definitely help to make the story and the character come a little bit more to life for the reader, which is a good thing. Wonder, to answer your question, yes, we do have a Discord. If you would like to join our Discord, what you need to do is you need to, in the comments for this video, for this live stream when it's done, in the comments, reach out to us. We will conduct an interview with you about what you're working on and about what you might be able to provide for other novice authors. And we would just want to get to know a little bit more about you and make sure that you're all good. And then we can then give you a link to the Discord server. We do it this way because we've had a number of trolls try to get on and just abuse people. Because, like, oh, nerds are gathering to talk about stories. I like beating up on nerds. And so we've had a couple of those people come around and try to cause problems. So we have to do the interview in order to weed out those individuals. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, we would love to have you then on our Discord. But it's how we do it, just that way we can avoid a lot of problems. TU counselor, I had stuff to do for my mom. Hey, no worries. Hannah asks, will showing my image that I draw will be perfect? I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to say there, Hannah. Whatever image you wish to share with us, especially since you're over there on our Discord, we'd love to see it. And really, no image is perfect. It's more about trying to do the best that you can. And what I love, Hannah, for you is that you are definitely crossing the streams with both illustrations and with storytelling. So you're actually way more into this than most of us are who are working on our prose, working on our words and how we describe stuff. You're actually taking that and transforming it into images. So for you, like, you have a much more different task where you're really looking at saying, okay, this is the image, this is the story I have in mind. These are the characters I have in mind. How do I now take a paragraph or a page of description and transform that into a good concrete image? So you're playing in a very different sandbox than the rest of us, which is incredible to me. I love what you're able to do. Oh wow, a full interview process. I'll definitely see if my ADHD lets me remember to reach out. Hey, again, if you do, we'd absolutely love to talk with you and get to know you a little bit better.
I feel like saying it's an interview makes it feel very daunting. It's not. You're fine.
Yeah,
It's
you're fine.
nothing like It's not like a job interview. We're not going to ask you 2,000 questions. We just want to make sure that you're not just going to go on here and bully people. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Then Fran, sorry, I had a typo for what I was trying to say. It will be great to show my character image to Zaza to get a little taste of what I described it to be. Also, thank you. Yeah, we'll have to see what. So, Hannah, if you want to, since you're on our Discord again, if there's any image that you'd like for us to share with Zaza in preparation for that live stream, please submit that to us. Like, let us know, so that way then we can already then take that and hand it off to them, and get some dialogue going there. I think that'd be great. I'm an artist as well, though I prefer doing Toku inspired monsters and stuff. Where do we submit? I'm Omega. If you want to submit your artwork to us, I don't think you're actually on our Discord server, so please reach out to us, so that way we can give you that link, and then we have an art channel there on our Discord, so that way you can share that stuff with us. Bible says, I guess I kind of know what I'm saying. With hot-headed red hair, but you got to think about how silly and actually fire-looking you want it to be, right? In fact, I imagine his hair as a darker red. So less goofy, but we got to think about it with the surrounding story and all. So, yeah. Well, again, Fabio, like, these are your characters. It's your story. You can put in whatever you want and make it work. Say, popping back on over here to Vix and Sari, like a guy a wizard walking around with explosion tattoos, who's 6'7", flaming red hair. You would almost never run into someone like this in real life. But hey, in a fantasy story, it's yours. You can put it on in there. Or for the Monarch Mercenaries, having a living cartoon character, again, sci-fi fantasy, you can do what you want. It's about finding who these characters are and making them the best that they can be, which is actually why when one of the things that Nathan said at the beginning of the live stream was so important. Know who your characters are. What are their goals? Who are they? Because more important than what a character looks like is who they actually are and who they are meant to be by the end of the story. If you can figure that out, you can do amazing things with the weirdest looking characters, because it's all about who the character is at their heart. That is the most important thing to take away. Talking about how a character looks is fun and all, but it's always about who the person is at their heart. And that's what we want to capture.
Doesn't matter how cool the character looks. If they are not interesting to read, then nobody cares, unfortunately.
Exactly. There's too many anime and manga out there with really cool looking main characters who are flat and bland and derivative and stupid. And I freaking hate it. Yeah, a cool design does not a cool character make. Probably also does him showing more energy as an accidental act instead of a purposeful one work here. It's what I envisioned. He doesn't know what his face is doing. Everything said, well, okay, it can work, but it's the way it can work are to be found. Well, Fabio, with what I think I understand what you're saying right here is, can a character act in a way that doesn't exactly match how they look? Or can they say something in a certain tone and it doesn't fit their face? Absolutely. You can do that. It happens all the time. And it just comes down to you to, again, like, for instance, under like the accident, like where a person looks accidentally charismatic. Ooh. Let me give you an example right here. Fabio, what I want you to do is this. I want you to look up Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. This is for you, Fabio. You're going to enjoy these books. I want you to read Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. This is phenomenal because this is a character who does so many things by accident, who does not like his powers, does not like the situation that he's in, tries to play the straight guy, and everyone else thinks he's doing something different throughout the entire book. It is fun. It is really fun, and it is possible to write that. And I think you might find some really good inspiration from reading that book. Wonder says, I actually have a character's summaries doc for my works, actually, though I haven't delved into describing their physical features. Not very much anyway. And that's totally fine. Like, you already have something right there. Building on their physical features is just another way of fleshing them out more. And that is part of it was part of our earlier stream, which if you want to, you can go back and you can see the writing advice and the setup that we had for that, which I would highly recommend. Fabio, I got worried I put too much of who he is instead of the appearance. I guess what he wants is body-based. So it's a good bit connected. Well, Fabio, you want to balance who a character is inside and what a character looks like. By bringing those two together, it makes the character feel more alive. And that just makes the character far more engaging to the reader or to the audience. They're like, I can see it. Everything works together. The way that they look, the way that they act, how they speak. Oh, perfect. And there's no one right way to do it. Absolutely not. Every character is going to be unique. We like seeing the uniqueness. Now then, because we've been here for almost 3 hours now, and I can feel it in my voice. Again, this is your writing challenge. Please work on creating that 1 to 2 paragraphs of an introduction for your characters. That way you can hand it either to Zaza when we do that stream on the 8th, or to any other artist, because it will really help out with having that conversation for how you can have those characters illustrated. To round things on up, because seems like chaos, a version of the more serious something awesome thing I want. Speaking of chaos, we will end with a recommendation here. If you have not yet seen Dandadan, then I highly, highly recommend checking this out. Ooh, wait, what the heck is going on here? Oh, no. Yeah, whoopsies. That was supposed to be the edit, not the full flipping episode. Okay, then I will not play this because then we'll get copyright struck. And I do not feel like getting copyright struck by Netflix. Darn it. Okay, well. Wow, I thought I grabbed up the right video. Apparently not. We'll end with this. If you want to see something that is truly fun, over the top, wow, this is the modern Fooly Cooly right here. You got to check out Dandadan. Scott and I have already done reviews and analyses for the first 3 episodes. The next episode is going to be bonkers funny and set up some really intense stuff to come. We're only 3 episodes in. The 4th episode, actually, no, I take it back. We're now 4 episodes in. Scott and I will be doing our review and analysis for the 4th episode here next week. So we're only 4 episodes in. There's plenty of time for you to catch up and watch this amazing story. If any of you are looking into how to write a crazy narrative with crazy characters and everything, this is something for you, I think, to watch and get a little bit of inspiration from. Because I myself have tried to write some like really bonkers off the walls stories. And I'm like, woo-hoo-hoo, this is really crazy and everything. And then when I present it to my readers, they're like, this is weird. This actually doesn't make any sense. Where is this going? I don't understand. I know you're trying to make a joke, but I'm just not getting it. So sometimes looking at what other people have done that is successful, you can then get some good inspiration. And I know that there are some people here on this stream who are working on creating some pretty bonkers stories. So if you want any inspiration, if you want to see how it's done, check out Dandadan. And if you just want to have a good laugh, watch Dandadan. Oh my gosh, the first episode. So crazy. Okay, so I gotta end it right there because I feel my voice going, and we've been here for nearly 3 hours, and I gotta eat dinner as well. Nate gotta eat dinner. I haven't eaten dinner yet. It's time for me to move on.
Thanks for having me on, Lars.
Hey, it was great having you here.
I feel like I need to dig out some of my old sketchbooks from art school and see if I can find some of my characters and post them to the Discord. So
yes.
I'll probably do that tomorrow if I have some time to look through my art stuff.
Yeah. Now, please do. And for those of you who are also on our Discord, a couple of members have already been posting stuff from Inktober or from their own personal sketches to help themselves get into the mindset of doing their own characters and writing their stories. So please feel free to share what you've got with us if you feel comfortable doing that, because it's fun, and it's also a good way of gaining more confidence, because a lot of us are really scared of sharing what we do. But once you begin sharing, it builds that confidence, and it then becomes more natural to let people know, I am an author, I'm an illustrator, I do comics, I do books, and not feel ashamed or weirded out about it. And it feels good when you can finally be there. And one of the best ways of doing that is sharing what you've got with other people who are like-minded, which is what our Discord is there for. I'm Omega. All right, doing designs then. Fantastic. By the way, you know what? Some of my stuff's going to be bonkers in so many ways. Specifics instead of a broad sense. All right. So I'm finally rewriting my first few chapters. Excellent. Like, seriously rewriting it completely. It's already much better. That is what we like to hear, ISO. That is what we like to hear. Say, I've been there before, and it can be a little bit difficult, but man, when you have to rewrite something that needs to be rewritten, it just gets so much better. Then Hannah says, I love Fooly Cooly, so yeah, I check it out. Awesome. Wonder says, I know anime can be weird, but that Hypno scene weirded me out in all the wrong ways. Wonder, that's okay. Scott and I talked about that in our review for the first episode. It is the most shocking and intense bit, the Hypno scene with the aliens. And we discuss about why that is, and also why that might be a turnoff for some people, which again, if that's a turnoff for you, that's A-okay. No pressure, no need to watch something or read something that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, because, yeah, that's no good. But for those people who are willing to give that a little bit of a try, you might find something really interesting. All right, so with all that being said, everyone, thank you guys so much for being here with us for this stream. Again, thank you, Nate, for being here with me for this. This was a lot of fun, and thank you for all of your amazing advice.
Always. I pretend like I know what I'm talking about, and people seem to like it, so I'll keep doing it.
Don't let this guy fool you. He is a bastion of fantastic wisdom and insight.
Thanks.
And yeah, we'll see you guys sooner than next Friday for the Halloween live stream. It will not be on Halloween night because I am going to be celebrating Halloween, and it won't be the day before Halloween because I've got plans. I'm going to be having a great old time celebrating one of my favorite times of the year, spooky month. Woo! So hope everyone has a fantastic evening. We'll have announcements for the Halloween live stream as we get closer to that. And yeah, again, anyone who wishes to be a part of our Discord, please reach out to us in the comments. We'll have our quick little interview. Again, no pain involved. Just want to get to know you, make sure that you're all good, and then we'll give you the invite to head on over and join the rest of us there. And so, with all of that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful time on this incredible adventure that we call writing. Thank you so much for joining us. And until the next time, y'all, tschüss.
Later, skaters.